With replacing Kroos, I don't think you replace him. You don't find somebody like him possibly again in my lifetime. I don't know. He's just such a unique player. I think you piece together what he brings. I mean that kind of applies to a lot of people. Like Ronaldo, you don't replace Ronaldo. You piece together what he brings probably through over the course of like two, 3 players. Maybe you piece it together. I feel that way with Modric. I don't think Fede replaces Modric in the way he covers ground, but he doesn't replace Modric in other things. Matt and I were having a discussion about Odegaard, and Odegaard will replace Kroos in certain aspects, like the way he presses, very efficient, but it doesn't make up for Kroos's absolute precision. To me, Kroos is the best passer of all time. And I was looking at the numbers because there's 2 things that Kroos excels in particular. One is passing accuracy, and he doesn't make easy sideway passes. I hate that. I hate it when people do that. Kind of bring that into play. They say, well, he's a sideway passer. No, just stop. He's a vertical passer. And when he does side-to-side passes, it's usually in the form of long diagonal balls, and nobody hits them accurately like he does. And he's in the top 10 passing accuracy in the entire continent. And he hits... So I posted this one on Twitter because I thought the stat was crazy enough. Of the 22 players in Europe who hit the most long balls, only one of them is not a goalkeeper, and that is Toni Kroos. And I think he's basically the only midfielder in there. There's a couple defenders in there until you get to number 44, which is Joshua Kimmich. And it's to the point where I think it was the last game, the Atalanta game, where he only had 6 long balls, and that was shocking to me that he didn't hit double digits in long balls in that game. He's just so good at that diagonal long pass. And how do you replace him? I don't know if you really do. I mean, there are really good passers in the league in Europe that you could kind of maybe piece together as passing, but I don't know. Somebody like Wijnaldum is really good at that, for example.
But you probably need to go the other way and just not try to replace what Kroos is doing, but even probably change your style of play and not try to find this possession-oriented midfielder that Kroos is, even though it would be ideal to find it, but it's so hard that you just probably don't rely that much on that kind of player. It'll be similar to if Nikola Jokic suddenly leaves the Denver Nuggets and Denver try to play the same style of basketball. It's just impossible, So you just probably rely on other players and rely on another style of football, and that's what Real Madrid could potentially do to quote unquote replace Kroos when he enters his decline. Because if they try to focus on actually replace him with a similar player bringing the same style of football, they'll probably fail. So
I think that's a really good point. I don't think you can replace him you just really can't. You really can't find a midfielder who does what he does on a consistent level. And again, I like Wijnaldum. I think Verratti kind of fits some of the profile, but again, you're just not replacing Kroos like that. By the way, Kovacic is another one who I think would have been an ideal candidate, but that ship has sailed. The other if you wanted to go with Odegaard there, it's a completely different style of play at that point. I actually think we have someone in our team that can actually fit the bill with what Kroos does. Not exactly, but just in terms of successor, and that's Isco. But his timeline is also, he's not a young up-and-coming player anymore. And exactly. I got to tell you, Kimmich would be amazing. I mean, Kimmich obviously is a little bit more versatile than Kroos and can play a little bit deeper than he can, but Kimmich would be a nice addition too. So I think the answer to this question is what you said, in that you can't really replace Kroos for like, but you're going to have to piece it together or just kind of change your style of play.
Yeah, agree.
By the way, with somebody Kroos, he has his pros and cons, right? He is an incredible passer. He also doesn't really track defensively. So maybe changing your style of play is not always a bad thing. It just means you're just going to be playing differently, I think, if your midfield structure is different. I think Real Madrid's midfield is going to look very different when Modric and Kroos move on, right? It's just
they
too
should.
unique of a situation.
They should try to replicate Modric and Kroos. Yeah, that's for sure.